Live Jump with Nita Brad.
Okay, so I was on mute. So welcome to Live Talk with Benita Bradley. I'm your host, Benita Bradley. Thank you guys for tuning in again. Want to welcome all of our streaming platforms tonight. I'm so excited because now we're on 3 Facebook platforms. We're streaming from Periscope, Twitter. We're streaming live to YouTube. Hi, YouTube. And we're also streaming live on Instagram. Hi, Instagram. And so today, I hope everybody had a really good day today. I hope the weather wasn't too bad in your area like it is here. This sunny one day, hurricane weather the next is wreaking havoc on my sinuses. And those of you that have sinus problems, honey, you're probably feeling just like I feel. And I'm drinking tea. I'm doing sinus medicine. And I don't know what else to do. But the weather is like up and down. And it's really crazy for our sinuses. So if you hear me sniffing, just a little sinus. Hopefully, once this crazy weather passes, my sinuses will get back to some degree of normal. So in the meantime, in between time, again, welcome to all of our streaming platforms. I'm so happy to have everybody. Some of you have been tuning into our segment on, is a Black woman out of control? Is she out of order? We've been getting some really good feedback. And so tonight I want to take it a step further. And I want to talk about how we interact with one another. Could that be the issue? Could there be a breakdown somewhere in how men and women are interacting with one another? Maybe that's where the breakdown is. Men are blaming women for the breakdown. Women are blaming men for the breakdown in our culture, particularly as it relates to relationships. As long as we keep blaming each other, nothing's going to be resolved. And if you're seeing the balloons in the back, it's because I just turned 54 on last Friday. So I haven't even been 54 for a week yet. So that's why you see my birthday balloons still up and everything. Thank you all for the birthday wishes and the shout outs and everything else. So there is a breakdown somewhere. I have a lot of videos to show you tonight. I'm going to try to talk as little as possible so I can preserve my voice a little bit longer. You guys know how your voice gets when your allergies are kind of wacky-wookie. Everything changes. And so I'm going to show you more videos tonight than I'm going to try to do talking. But I do have a few talking points that I do really want to try to get to before my voice goes out. So I got my water. I got my cough drops going. I got my tissue. So I'm all set to go. Okay. All right. So the first thing we want to talk about is if there is a problem between the Black man and the Black woman, where did the problem originate? Is it the Black woman's fault? Is she out of control? Is she out of order? Last week, Pastor Carol was on and she made a very good point. She said women are out of control because men are out of place. Women are all over the place. Therefore, children are displaced. I thought that was so incredible, the way she came up with that. because I think it holds a lot of truth on each end, on the men's part, on the women's part, and most certainly on the children's part. Because once the head is out of order, everything else that follows is going to be out of order. And I know it seemed like we just wanted to hammer in on women. That's not the case. But a lot of times, the reason why we start with the women is because there are more of us than there are of them. Okay. And so we still want to focus on bringing us back into control, bringing us back to order. But also, while we're doing that, I also want to look at the totality of the structure of the Black family, the Black relationship. How do we communicate with each other? Are we communicating effectively with each other? Why not? Why aren't we communicating effectively with each other? Men are talking to men. Women are talking to women. Here's the crazy thing. Women are talking to other women about what men think and vice versa. In order for you to understand what a man thinks, how he feels, what he wants, you got to talk to a man. A woman can only tell you so much. I can only tell you so much what a man wants, how he feels, how he interprets the things we say, how he interprets our body language, how he interprets our non-spoken, our non-verbal language to him. I can only tell you so much. But in order for you to get a real picture of what a man thinks, how he feels, how he relates information, even our silent, nonverbal communication, you got to hear that from a man's perspective. And so that's why I've had men on the show trying to give us an insight on what it is, how they think, what they want, what they're looking for, and also what they're seeing. What they're seeing just across the board, dealing with Black women. Now, let me make a disclaimer. All views and opinions that was heard on the show was not necessarily the views and opinion of Live Talk with Benita Bradley, or Resilience Life Coaching and Notary Services, LLC. So I always make that disclaimer because everyone is entitled to his or her own opinion. And so with that in mind, we have got to start communicating with each other, because as long as the women stay over here talking to the women and the men stay over here talking to the men, we're never going to get together and find out how do we bridge this gap between the Black man and the Black woman? How do we bring it all together so that we are now this unit, this functioning, proper unit, whereby we're producing not just good children, but we're producing good businesses. We're producing good communication skills. We're producing good businesses. We're making good partners. We're making good wives and husbands and girlfriends or boyfriends or significant others, whatever you want. There has to be a coming together at some point. We cannot stay stuck over here with women only. And guys, you cannot stay stuck over there with guys only if you plan to help bridge this gap. And so I have 3 talking points for you tonight, but I got a lot of videos to show you. And what I'm going to do tonight is kind of let the videos do a lot of my talking for me. Again, because, with this weather just everywhere, we go from 80-degree weather to thunderstorm weather, and then one minute you're out the house with a sundress on, and the next moment you almost got to wear a jacket. It's just crazy weather, and my sinuses are like, just everywhere. And so thank you guys for just staying with me for the 2 years you stayed with me. Some of you will be with me even further. I appreciate that. I appreciate my YouTubers. I appreciate my Instagrammers. I appreciate all of my Facebookers. And my new addition, I appreciate my Periscope Twitters. All right. So first talking point tonight. Again, tonight we're going to be talking about the breakdown. We're going to be looking at the breakdown between the Black man and the Black woman. It had to come from somewhere. It didn't just happen by osmosis. We like to say things just happen. I don't believe things just happen. I believe there are sequences of events that lead to things happening. I believe that there are systems and occurrences that are set in motion that causes things to happen. I believe there are actions and then reactions that causes things to happen. I don't believe in chance. I don't believe in stuff just happening just because it can happen. This breakdown came from somewhere. A long time ago, we didn't have we're going to get into gender role reversal and stuff later on if we have time for it tonight. I'm going to try to stay on just maybe 1 hour tonight, or as long as my voice holds up. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is the history of Black women and Black men dating. That's why I want to start tonight. A long time ago, they didn't call it dating. They called it courting. And this term dating now it's just thrown around so loosely. It almost means, dating kind of means like, a free for all. There's no real definition to it anymore. There's no real substance or essence to it anymore. It's just like everybody just do whatever, kind of deal going on. I got a couple of videos, and we're going to listen to some of the Black women talk about their dating history. And perhaps some of you can chime in and comment on some of your dating history. You don't have to really get specific and tell people your personal business, because I wouldn't do that on an open line unless I thought it would be beneficial, But you can chime in and give a little bit of your dating history. Let us know if you've had challenges in dating inside of your race or outside of your race. And so the first video we're going to look at some Black women talking about their dating history and how they approach dating. Back then it was called courting or courtship. Now we just do child. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on. I'm trying to ease my way back into the dating scene, but so far from what I've seen, it just made me kind of run back and hide a little bit, because I really don't know what's going on. And some of you that are, maybe in your 30s and 40s and 50s, maybe or 60s, and maybe you're feeling the same way. I saw a video earlier today, there might have been yesterday. There was a lady, she's 71 years old. She just got divorced like 5 years ago. And like, she's ready to start dating again, but she doesn't know what to look for. She doesn't know where to begin. And because she met her husband, her ex-husband, she met him in church. They went to the same church, and they both had similar interests, and they both were college educated, and they both were public servants. They were elected officials. So she figured, we got so much in common. This is a perfect match for me. So they started dating, and they ended up married. Long story short, the marriage ended in divorce in their late 60s, because she's 71 and they've only been divorced now 5 years. You do that math. At 71, like, that's kind of, I don't know. I'm not saying it's impossible, but that's kind of hard to imagine yourself back on the dating scene at 71. I'm having a difficult time imagining myself back on the dating scene at 54, but such is life, and here we are. And sometimes you just don't know what to do. You don't know what to look for. You don't know where to start. You don't know who's good. You don't know who's not good. Half of you are afraid to get back out there. The other half is too anxious to get back there. So a lot of us were kind of stuck in limbo, like, shall I, shan't I? Should I, shouldn't I? We're kind of there in that middle ground of wanting to date, wanting to find a significant other. But the pickings are so slim, we kind of don't know which way to go on this thing, if you will. And that is a truth that many Black women are facing, because that Black women period outnumber men. And then when you slim it down even further to Black women, we outnumber Black men. And so that's how come you have a lot of people, saying, well, I tried this polygamy thing and, all of that, to each his own. But there are some women who still like the traditional relationship of the male female relationship. So let's get into the videos. All right. So first thing we're going to do is look at some women who they want to talk to us about the history of their dating experiences. And so I want you to listen very closely to these women, and then tell me what you think after we see the video. Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's get to it. Hold on one second. And Instagram, I got it where I do hope you can hear it. Okay. I think this is it. Let's see.
My dating history has pretty much been me dating. I don't even know how to talk about this.
I'm married, and we met when we were 12. Prior to 12, I haven't really dated much. We did have a short break during college, and so I was dating around then and just meeting new people. I went to a predominantly white school, and so that was a little hard. It seemed like the non-Black people didn't want to date Black girls, but then also the Black guys didn't want to date Black girls. So I was caught in between a rock and a hard place.
I think my dating life is a bit different from my friends because I have a pretty diverse friend group, but I did notice, like, especially in college, like, again, like, we would go to like frat parties and like I would get approached, but like it would be evident that they would be approached way more. Or like we'd be like on dating apps and like we'd be swiping the same amount, but like they would get more responses than me. And they would be like, oh, like, Akis, why don't you date more? Or like this, that, and the third. And I'm like, I want to date, but it seems as if like people like see me and it's almost like they see my Blackness before they see me as a person.
Men are generally scared of Black women. I think it's partially because of there was like one point of view of a Black woman or maybe just like a couple points of views of a Black woman like in the media and on TV and in the movies for a very long time. I just feel like there's like an intimidation factor, especially if a Black woman is educated or Black woman is a leader or Black woman is very business oriented. Immediately it's like, fall back. I've literally had guys tell me like, I feel like you're further along in your life and your career. And I need to catch up to that.
I 100% think that Black women are seen differently when it comes to dating. I mean, Black women are some of the strongest women on this planet. And I feel like when it comes to dating, that has to really go into dating. People look at strength and be like, oh, she's too loud, she's too outspoken, and no, that's just like being a Black woman.
I feel like there's a stigma on Black women where it's like they're loud or angry or obnoxious and they like can't be free or take a joke or anything like that. And like I was not that person, but I felt like that was what was put on me. It felt like I was a bit intimidating for them as compared to my other friends. Like they would all like go out to parties and like they would be the first ones to get danced with even though they couldn't dance. But you know, like it just felt kind of like unfair.
It's interesting because I feel like when I was growing up, the only perspective or voice that I was listening to was society. And so I felt like I had to feel undesirable because society said I wasn't desirable because of all of those conventions. And I feel like through time and like educating myself and all of that stuff, I'm like, I can recognize that I'm not what society says we're supposed to deem attractive. But that doesn't mean that I don't feel good about myself or that I don't find myself attractive.
I think that I am the right type of Black woman appearance-wise, meaning I have a big butt pretty much and like a smaller waist But I think my skin color is the detriment to a lot of people. Like I'll often hear, I've never been interested in a dark skinned girl before. You're the first dark skinned girl I thought was pretty, whatever. That's not fun. It's not cute things to hear.
That's not a compliment because you're saying like of the dark skins who you deem ugly, you're the prettiest of the ugly, which makes no sense. Just call us beautiful women, which is what we are. All Black women are beautiful regardless of your shade.
I want people to know that dating as a Black woman comes with a lot of things that other people might not expect. So Black men might not realize how painful or problematic their comments might be. I don't want to lump all Black men together, but the Black men that say these types of things might not realize how painful or detrimental their comments might be, but they are. White women might not realize exactly what Black women are going through, but we are going through these things that's specific to being a Black woman and dating that white women aren't experiencing. And I just want people to realize that it's different.
Don't immediately like see a Black woman and automatically assume that she's one type of way because you don't know her. So don't assume because of what society has told you or what you've seen on TV or what you've read in books or like what you've seen in music videos that that's the kind of person she is, because you wouldn't do that for any other type of woman. So there's no reason why you should do it for Black women.
I want everyone watching to know that Black women are beautiful and they are smart and they are fun and they are cool and dope as hell. And if they don't like you, then that's their problem because you are a queen. You should not have to feel lesser than just because someone does not appreciate you. Then that's not the person for you.
I think people need to be okay with being uncomfortable by the truth of other people's experiences because it's only through that discomfort and that recognition and that willingness to like grapple with it. I think for a lot of us, it's about like just being understood and being heard.
It's also hard to be a Black woman dating Black men. It's also hard to be a Black woman dating white men. It's hard to be a Black woman.
Okay, so what do you guys think about that? You know, they shared their experiences. Instagram, I'm glad I got the volume up where you guys can hear. They shared their experiences, and some of you have had similar experiences with dating or trying to date. Some of you have given up dating, you know, because you may feel the pickings are too slim. You know, maybe you feel like there are no good Black men available. You know, I've heard those conversations over and over and over again. And then when you make that argument, then the Black men come back and say, yeah, we're out here, but you all just don't know what a good Black man is, or you all don't want a good Black man. So again, we still have this gap in communication that we need to fill so that we get on the same page. Black women are saying there are no good Black men out there. Black men are saying, well, we're here, but you all don't want a good Black man. You all don't know a good Black man when you see one. So again, we got to have a come together. You know, we got to have this, let's come to the table moment. And that's what my goal is tonight. And probably when we do a part 2 of this, it's to form this table that we can come to and talk about the hard things that we need to talk about as it relates to the relationship between the Black man and the Black woman, because I don't care what you say, how you slice it, we have a problem. We have a problem in our culture. We are the least married now. We used to be the most married. Now we're the least married. Even if you turn to the church is seeing just as much as divorce as the secular. And so it's not like we have some victory that we need to shout and tout about now. We got to find real solutions to our real problems. And pointing the fingers at each other is not going to solve the issues. We need to have real conversations. about real issues and come up with real solutions if we're going to get the family and the structure of the Black community back on track. All right. So the next topic we're going to roll right into it. This is still the history of the Black woman. Listen, because we have become so modern, you know, and I don't really know that, I just keep hearing that term, you know, the modern woman thrown around, and I don't really know what that really entails. I guess they're talking about the women of today's society, the women of a different mindset, the women that are different from your traditional thinking women. I'm not sure what it all means, but to me, it just seems like another way of saying feminism. You know, to me, that just seems like another way of saying feminism, and it's just not working. Remember, we talked about feminism. Feminism was never a movement for Black women. That really had nothing to do with us when it initially came about. Well, how could you say that it included all women? No, it didn't. If it included all women, then why was there a need for then the Black female, the Black feminist movement? Those are two separate movements. And so with all of those things, we begin to see the gender roles just shifting and going away. Now you have men giving up their authority as head and turning it over to the woman, or women who are so masculine, they take the role, and then the men just kind of you know, let her have it, you know. And so a lot of times that goes back to what Pastor Carol said last week. Men are at a place because they give up their authority. Women are all over the place because they don't want to be submissive. And then the children are displaced. There will never be never be order in the midst of chaos until we fix the chaos. Okay, let's see what Instagram is saying. The roles seem to be reversed. Some of us women nowadays have had to keep up the more masculine roles. And I do agree with that. You're left with no choice almost, because again, the men have moved out of place. You know, it's sad, but you know, I hear a lot of men say, okay, Black women are angry, this, that, and the third. But why are Black women angry? What causes them to feel that need to lash out? And although we got to work on some of this anger and this lashing out, you know, and disrespecting one another, we have got to work on that, guys. Yeah. So women have had to pick up the more masculine role, says a viewer on Instagram. And again, that's absolutely true, because if there is no man in that role of authority or in that particular male or masculine role, then the woman has no choice. She almost got to play two roles, two gender roles. She has to play the masculine role and she has to play the feminine role. The only problem I have with that is after a while, it just causes everything to kind of be out of order. And so with the gender roles, we're seeing now so many more women as heads of household. Some where there is a man, and some where there is not a man. I don't particularly subscribe to the notion that if there is a man in the household, that the woman is the head. That's just me. That's just me. And so we still got to get back to order. We still have to bring order back into the house. So I have another video for you. Remember, I told you guys I was not going to try to talk as much tonight, because the more I talk and the more I get into it, you know, the more my sinuses give me a little bit of problem. And Facebook used to say society has changed. That's all. I totally agree. I totally agree. Absolutely. And here's the thing about that. Every time something changes in society, instead of us holding, strong to our belief, we adapt to the changes. We kind of just go with the flow nowadays. And unfortunately, a lot of those flows are drowning us in our communities, in our homes, in our relationships. And we're not getting the best of each other in our relationships. Okay? So let's look at the next video. Let's go to our next video. And I want you guys to listen. I want you first to listen to women talk about gender roles. All right? And then I want you to listen to men talk about gender roles. And what was amazing to me when I was doing my research is the difference in how men think and how women think about these gender roles. And so it's such a big difference between how men think and how women think on these gender roles. Again, we still have that great divide. There still has to be some kind of way we gotta come together and try to all get on the same page. Okay? All right, so the next video I'm going to show, again, you have a group of women talking about the gender roles, and then we have a group of men that are going to talk about the gender roles. Let me show you the video first of the women talking, okay?
Welcome back to Sister Circle Live. Today we're tackling a topic that spans back to the beginning of time. As society evolves and we continue to fight for gender equality, breaking glass ceilings and making strides for women to have equal pay and equal rights, how does that affect traditional gender roles, especially in relationships? Should women still be expected to cook, clean, and take care of home if she's also bringing home their money? Should men still be expected to pay all the bills and bring home the bacon if he's also cooking and cleaning? Ladies, what are our thoughts on this? It's pretty heavy.
I think it should be a shared responsibility. There's nothing like being a woman and working all day, and then when you get home, and say for instance, if your husband's also working, but when you get home, he's looking in your face saying, "What are we gonna eat today?" Well, you were home first. Why could you have not prepared a meal for us?
Right.
Why is it my responsibility if both parties are working and both parties are contributing to the household? I just think that it's a bit unfair when it comes down to the roles and responsibilities that's placed and expectations. Let me just say that. Yeah. Expectations that are placed on women versus a man, and I think that comes from when you're young and you have little boys and they're kids and the mommies are taking care of them and you're doing everything for them and they do nothing. So then they grow up
and do nothing.
As men.
Yeah. Smitty and I, we split. Like I don't really think that there's a you do this, you do that. Now I do expect certain things like cutting the grass. I think it's an understood type of thing, and the trash and all that. But we've talked about the trash before pretty heavily on this show. If it's not going to get done, then I'm going to take it out. But my parents did raise me to be able to do everything. So I don't necessarily.
Did they raise your brother to do everything too?
Oh yeah.
Okay, well that's a rare situation.
He does. My brother does everything, and he and my sister-in-law Dina, they share the cooking responsibilities.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's perfect.
I mean, he might be cooking lamb chops one day, and she's cooking like black-eyed peas the next day. They really share that. Now Smitty, now I am on set in the morning, so he does take care of breakfast. But when it comes down to that dinner, Shawty gonna be like, so what we eating tonight? And my mom always said, she was like, be careful. what you do in the beginning, they want you to do throughout the entire marriage. So I would come home making gourmet Thai dishes and all this stuff. Now he want gourmet Thai dishes on a Tuesday night, you know, so because I spoiled him. But in the grand scheme of things, that to me is very small. We share everything. This man can clean his behind off.
That's good.
And I take his lead when it comes to the cleaning and stuff.
Really?
Like, absolutely. He is a very cleanly man.
Yeah,
and he was raised that way. So I credit his parents for the way they raised him to be able to do everything. He's brought that in our marriage.
Yeah, I'm really happy that they raised him like that.
Yes, amen.
Yeah.
Me too.
Well, you know, this is a touchy situation because on one hand of the spectrum, you want, like, I know women, and I'm one of them. I used to be one of them. I still am sometimes, who wish I could just sit on in the house and do nothing and just cook and do with the kids and just, that's all I got to do.
Right.
And not have to worry about any bills or any of that. And then the man does all the bills and stuff. You still do the outside, you know, because I ain't cutting no grass. But I handle everything on the inside, but you got to take the garbage out. And then, like, I just cook and clean to, like, raise kids and, like, do homeschooling and make sure my kids on point, because I've done that. And I've been I am a working woman. So I've done both. And as a working woman, I wish sometimes that I could just be at home with my kids and really get a rein on them more. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. As a mom, it's very important for me. It has nothing to do with the husband or anything that he's doing. Just as a mom, that innate drive to want to have a hold of your kids and kind of steer them in the right direction is just I guess an innate need. You know what I'm saying?
But are you raising your boys to be able to take care of themselves?
One moment, I would raise them to be able to take care of myself. I would raise my children, whether they're men or women, just because you just want them.
I just said boys because that's what you have.
Oh,
yeah.
But I would raise my children. Whichever kind of child I had, I would raise them to be able to take care of themselves. However, I think that we have to get out of the mindset of woman do this, man do that. We have to stop that nowadays because we don't live in those times where that is conducive. Women are out here trying to make it happen. We're single moms. Our men are in jail. Our men, some men just don't want us, period. So we're left alone in a lot of instances. There are a lot of single moms. So of course, she has to teach her child. She has the responsibility of having to teach the child everything because she doesn't know what life that's going to be in front of them. So you should just want to do that, teach your children to be just to have duality, period. You should, whether it's boy or girl. Now, on the other hand, I do believe that women spoil their boys and raise their girls hard. So now you have a bunch of strong women and weak men.
Weak as water.
And that is what's happening in our society. Now, not all women, but I do think that women cater more to their boys, and they cook and clean for them and take care of them more. And so for me as a mom with boys, I'm very, very specific, and I'm very, very intentional about how I raise my boys. That's right, and I don't play the radio with them because I don't want them to grow up and think that everything is going to be handed to them. And then I don't want you to find a woman that's going to do that. I want you to have a woman that's strong like your mother. I want you to see the example and get a woman like that so that she can raise strong children. Because I don't want him thinking, because the world's not going to pacify you. Especially as a black man. So I have to teach him to be strong on a lot of different levels. But I've seen where women baby these boys and just tell the women, figure it out, fix it, do it, do that to the women. So now you have all these strong women and all these weak men. And now we're in a nightmare.
I would love to get the perspective from some of our followers who are in the LGBTQI in relationships and see about gender roles
that
there,
dynamic
because
is
we're talking about really one specific type of dynamic. So I would love to get their thoughts, or maybe have an additional conversation.
It's probably more of a shared responsibility on
that. But we don't know.
I'm just saying, that's why I use the word probably.
Probably, right.
I just would like to think that, coming together as the same sex, you are already known for what you have to do on your own. I want to go back to what Selena said. I don't know how much time we have, but Selena was saying that in the world, you utilize the saying, the world is not going to coddle him. The world is not going to treat him well, or the world is going to be harsh. And I think taking those same statements, that is one of the reasons why women baby them. Well, he's not going to get any love in the world, so I got to give him all the love right now. Girl, you are making a sorry, sad case of a man. He is not going to always be your baby boy, period.
And he ain't your husband.
Well, we'd love to hear your thoughts, guys, on this heavy topic at Sister Circle
It's a
TV.
fool.
So what do you guys think about that? Clearly, they were really passionate about they were really passionate about that. Let's see. Let's show some of the comments here. We cannot agree on gender roles because people and cultures are different. Absolutely agree. Do you all think we should do away with gender roles? You know, should gender roles be abolished? You know, and everybody just kind of do what works for them as far as their relationships are concerned, because what might work over here may not work over here in this home. And, you know, over here, the man may take the lead, you know, financially over here, but in this house, the woman may be more suitable to take the financial lead. So I think when we start talking about gender roles, we have to look at what works best for that individual couple or family or unit or partnership or what have you. There is no one size fits all when it comes to this gender role thing in relationships. There is no cookie cutter pattern for gender roles, because again, like I said a moment ago, what might works for the Smiths over here may not work for the Browns, you know. And little Jimmy over here, he'll go to school and say, well, my dad stays home, but my mom works. And then little Tommy over here, he'll say, well, my mom stays home, but my dad goes to work, you know. So you're seeing now two gender roles played out here, but it seems like they've swapped. And so the man staying home over here may work well over here, and the woman staying home over this household, that just may work for them. So whatever works for you, I think that's what you should do in your relationship. I agree. A Facebook user says that's a topic that should be discussed before marriage. That should be discussed during your premarital counseling, gender roles. All of these things should be discussed within, I don't even know if y'all do premarital counseling anymore, but these are things that should be discussed during premarital counseling, you know, so that when you go in the door, you'll know what's expected going in. And then by the time you get in the door, it won't be such a topsy-turvy event that's saying, well, I thought you was going to take the trash out. I ain't taking no trash out. I go to work all day. Well, I thought you was going to wash the dishes. You know, you got all of this, you know, going on, and you got this chaos for really no reason when, like our Facebook user said, these things should have been talked out before the marriage. These things should have been discussed, I'm going to say, within the premarital counseling sessions. That's what I'm going to say. Because I do think that's really important that you have premarital counseling. Anytime you're bringing two mindsets, two households together, particularly if they're children, you got children, they got children. If you're going to be a blended family, certainly you got to discuss these things. How are we going to discipline the children? If you're a woman with children, will he be able to discipline your children? If you're a man with children, will she be able to discipline your children? All of that needs to be discussed, you know, going into the marriage, before the marriage, so that everybody understands, here's the plan. This is what we're doing. Here's the plays of this game. Here's what we're doing the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. Boom. Here's the plan. This is what we're doing. Somebody has to have the plan to say, this is what we're doing. Now, we're taught traditionally the man comes up with the vision and he gives the vision to the woman, and she helps to make that vision come to pass. And so at some point, we still got to have this coming together. We still got to try to merge our thoughts and ideas together so that we don't just go in, everybody do your own thing. Well, I ain't never told you I was going to be cooking for you. You know, girl, okay. You know, let's see what Instagram saying. Facts. Communication is like non-existent with a lot of expectations that no one knows about. Yeah, and it is like women expect men to be mind readers. Men expect women to be mind readers when the truth of the matter is all it takes is a sitting down and a level of communication where we're communicating to each other. Watch this, openly, honestly, and transparently. If you are a woman, ladies, please hear me on this, please. If you are a woman and you know you don't like to cook, don't be filling that man head up with hopes and dreams that he gonna come home to a home cooked meal. Don't do that. You know you don't like to cook. You know you don't like to cook, but you want him so bad you'll tell him anything just to get him or just to have a husband. Listen, that's not gonna end well for you, honey. I'm telling you, that's just not gonna work out for your good in the end. Put your truth on the table. Let him know, I love you, but I just don't like cooking. And then let him make that decision whether or not he want to move forward with you. But to tell a man one thing, knowing you have no intentions of being that to him, you don't like cooking, you don't like being in the kitchen, you don't like cleaning, you don't like to do none of that stuff, whereas it pertains to gender roles. You don't want to do none of that. Then tell him. And then you let him make his decision about whether or not he wants to move forward with you. And men the same way. You know, there are some men, they don't like to cut the yard. Okay, you don't like cutting the yard? Hire a lawn man, you know. But these things have to be discussed, like the Facebook user said, before the marriage, okay? Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, that's a good one. As society, let me put this up so you guys can see it. And Instagram, I'll read it so you can hear it. And then I'll come back to you and read your comments, also Instagram. As society has evolved, many people change their expectations. However, many are still traditional in their expectations and drag old roles into modern time. I do believe that. And again, we can settle that. We can solve those issues by, if you're the same Facebook user who made the earlier comment, we can solve all of those issues by having that communication before we even get to that point, before we get to the marital, ceremony. We can have these discussions. Are you old-fashioned? Are you traditional? Are you more modern thinking? You know, how are we going to play this whole thing out? Yeah, as we grow, needs and expectation changes and have to be adjusted with new kids, jobs, parents, getting elderly. That's so true. Let me give you a for instance, and then we're going to go to the other gender video, and then I'm going to come to you, Instagram, and read some of your comments as well. So, husband and wife, let's call them Sally and Sam. Okay. Sally and Sam are, they're engaged, okay? Sally and Sam are engaged, okay? And Sam has an elderly mother, okay? Sam has an elderly mother that he's been taking care of for the past 10 years or greater, all right? Sally knows this. She knows about his mother. She knows about the mother's condition. She's well aware that Sam is the one that has been taking care of his mother. and she's ready to move forward with the relationship, even though she knows all of this. Well, once they get married, now Sam has told her, well, Mom will probably have to come live with us because I don't want to put her in a home. And once we move once we get married or whatever, Mom has to be with us, or she has to be with me. And she says, oh, that's fine. I love your mom, da, 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 da. She goes into this whole, I'll help you take care of. She goes into that whole little spiel. Well, once they get married, Sally over here, she doesn't want Sam's mother to live with them. So now we got this dilemma. Sam now has to make a choice. Do I still bring my mother into my home, knowing my wife now does no longer want this? Or do I not bring my mother into the home and put her maybe in a senior citizens home or somewhere, assisted living facilities or something, just to make my wife happy? Now, this is going to be a problem. Well, why now? Because again, now Sally is saying, well, I didn't marry you to be no nurse. I didn't marry you to help you take care of your mom. I just wanted a husband. I didn't sign up for all of this. And Sam over here, he's looking lost because during the courtship and all of that, Sally made all these promises, but now she's changed her mind. She was like, well, I said that back then, but now I don't feel like that's what I want to do. And I want to know how many of you will, if you're Sam, how many of you would make the decision to go ahead and move your mother in and possibly cause that rift in your home? Let me know if you would go ahead with that, because that's what you guys decided on from the beginning. Let me give you another scenario. Jack and Jill are married, and it was always agreed upon that Jill would stay home with the children until they started kindergarten. Well, now Jill stayed at home while she was at home with the children. Jill took some classes, so now she's a little more educated than she previously was when they got married and started having children. So now she wants to go to work, and the children are not yet of school age. Well, now she's changing. And I think a lot of times people do change with time, and people evolve. Their mindset changes, their goals change, and unfortunately, when we get into these gender roles, that's not as easy to make these, how you're driving and somebody cut you off because they made a quick lane shift. It's not that easy in a relationship or in a marriage to just make that quick lane shift without causing a wreck. You're going to wreck the entire household doing that, particularly like our viewer said, when these things are discussed before the marriage, and then once we get into this gender role posture now, because now I'm husband, you're wife, these are kids, this was what we agreed upon. And now, you feel like because you got the education now, you don't want to stick to the agreement. So now Jack now has to constantly come home every day and listen to Jill bombard him with, well, why I got to stay home? I can work just like you. And so now we got this, we still get these gender roles, and now we got this feministic mindset coming in, and it's all leading us up to a mess, guys. It keeps leading us up to where men and women are no longer on the same page, even in marriage. We can't even agree on our gender roles. Let's go to Instagram real quick, and then we're going to hold on. I'm gonna put your comment on while I go to Instagram. Okay, so Instagram said, yeah, I'll tell them up front. I can't cook. So I would still move. Okay, another Instagrammer said I would still move my mom in. And Facebook said I would make sure my mom is comfortable in her own or assisted living facility. So we see we have different opinions, and it's okay to have different opinions. But it all goes back. What did we agree upon in the beginning? And I think that's what's happening. Someone mentioned earlier, people's goals and expectations change with time. What was probably good, and I hear a lot of men say, well, we don't have women like we had back in grandmother's time or back in granddaddy's time. And then I would hear women come up and say, well, that's because y'all ain't doing what granddaddy did. Granddaddy went to work and paid all the bills. Grandmama, she stayed at home, raised the kids and cooked and cleaned. She didn't have to worry about the bills. She didn't have to worry about going out to work. It didn't necessarily take two incomes to make a household run, but things are different now. And so you got a lot of men looking for these traditional women, but are they providing that traditional space that women can be that traditional woman? And then the flip side to that is you have a lot of women wanting to have the luxury of staying home and taking care of the children and not have to go to work, but then they don't want to help the man or push the man to get to his optimum best where he can afford to go out and do that, where he even wants to go out and do that. So we still got this. Now gender roles are talking about 50-50, all of these things are coming into play when we consider gender roles because we're changing. And I understand about when time changes, sometimes we have to adapt, adjust, and sometimes we have to overcome. But it should not be so much to the point that we disrupt the entire structure of the family or the entire structure of our homes. And so let's look at another video. You guys are giving some really good comments. I do appreciate that so much. Okay, so let's look at another video talking about the gender roles, okay? Here we go.
Hi, ladies. So today we're going to talk about role reversal in the Black community. So according to an article by the Institute for Women's Policy Research, in a 2016 article, it stated 61% of Black households were made up of Black single mother breadwinners. And for multiracial women, the rate for single mothers that were breadwinners was only 37%. For Hispanic women, it was 31%. 20% of white mothers made up single women that were the breadwinners. And it was only 10% for Asian mothers. So, of course, there are a lot of reasons for these statistics, as we all know, the incarceration rates, etc. But in order to create better families and change the dynamics and gender roles in the Black community, we're going to have to practice hypergamy and date regardless of the race of man. So, as we know, many men actually prefer to be the breadwinners in their homes, and we can clearly see that from the data. There's a lot of issues that come up when the woman is the breadwinner, and a lot of men and their egos cannot handle the woman taking care of everything in the household. So, Black women, the fact that we have to take care of our children financially and do things alone is very problematic. And a lot of women have to deal with this situation, and we need to make a change. There's also the baby mother culture that is extremely problematic in the Black community. We glamorize singlehood and being single mothers, especially the younger generation today. And with the celebrity culture, we can clearly see that baby mother culture is glamorized. And the men in our communities also expect women to pursue them, and they see themselves as the prize. So that can cause a lot of issues when creating families, because the women are expected to chase the men, and because there's a shortage of men know that they don't have to settle down quickly. They know that they don't have to create these families when the woman is ready. They do it on their time, and they take their time. And some men, especially black men, the higher their income is, the less likely it is that they're actually going to marry. And about 50% of black men don't even get married. So that's a big issue. And actually, Ralph Richard Banks stated that women need to be more competitive in the market and raise their desirability by dating out. And once black women actually date higher quality men, that also raises their desirability. And men see us, black women, as a struggle because our standards are so low, and whenever they see black women, they see them with low quality men. That's not a good look for us. Another issue is the masculinization of black women in the media and the black social justice warriors and low self-esteem amongst black women. And there's also this one-sided loyalty in the black community. Black women want to date exclusively black men and have this fantasy of having a black prince and having this black love that, just statistically speaking, is not likely to always happen. And we also care about race loyalty and being politically correct in relationships that we have outside of the black community, which a lot of other races of women don't have the same mentality of being politically correct and talking about race so much in their personal relationships. So we have to make a change, ladies. We have to be women first and put the racial, social justice warrior mentality behind us. And we have to be more feminine. We have to put our womanhood first, just like men put their manhood first. They put their needs above everything else. And we need to do the exact same, ladies. So thanks for watching this video. And I would love to hear your comments.
All right. So what do you guys think about what she's saying? She's pretty much saying what this other guy said about black women, about there not being enough black men for black women to even date. So I have a clip to show you. This guy is saying, basically black women, it's time for us to give up on black men, start dating other races, other cultures. On that other clip we saw, we heard the women talk about, well, mothers are raising strong black women and weak black men. I understand it, but I don't necessarily agree. Let's see what Instagram says. Yes, men want to be chased, yet they do not offer anything but a sexual desire. So some men have the means to support and uphold their roles, but they have become selfish and some sort and dangle their success. Okay, I got you. Thank you, Instagram. So a lot of men, black men, when they reach a certain level of success, they don't really want a black woman, particularly the ones that are like, I am strong, I am woman, hear me roar. They don't want all of that, masculine energy in a woman. And what's unfortunate is no one tells the woman to tone that down a little bit. If you want this certain type of man, we'll tell each other, girl, be yourself. You don't have to change just to get a man. You don't have to change to do this. You keep being yourself. If you got to change for a man, that he ain't the one, and then you listen to your single friends and they're single, you're single, all of y'all single. You don't even have any You don't even have anybody vying for your attention, you know, and all of y'all in the same boat together because all of y'all believe the same. Oh, he's intimidated. He feels like I'm too strong. He's intimidated by my education. He's intimidated by the money I make. You know, he's intimidated by my strong stance. You know, the man might not be as intimidated by you as you think. It could be that your masculine energy is turning him off sometimes. Sometimes I don't think it's that he's intimidated or jealous or envious. Some things just turn men off. And I think once we realize, and there are some men that are just not used to women being hard like that. You know, we call it strong, but sometimes men look at it as it being hard. So again, we still have to decide what role we're going to play. You know, I like being really feminine, you know, and so that means for me, I would welcome a super, super strong man, you know, in charge, you know, take charge kind of man. That's just me. Now, someone next to me might not like that because she might like being that take charge entity in the relationship. And that's cool if that works for her. You can't say what works for you is going to work for the next person. I think we kind of need to come away from that and not try to make this cookie cutter idea that all Black women are like this or all Black men are like that. You know, time is changing, but there are some things we still need to hold to. You know, I don't think it's so much getting stuck in the past or what have you, but what we're doing is not working. So we have to find a different solution than what we're doing because it's just simply, it's not working. It's just not working. And I know, you know, Black women sometimes can come off, you know, kind of angry, you know, but again, there's just not enough men to go around. It's just not. It's just not enough men to go around. You know, I don't know what's going to have to happen, you know, how we're going to, or even if we'll ever get back to some degree of leveling out the playing field where there are, you know, a nice group of suitable heterosexual men that want to actually marry Black women that are doing well, or whatever your level is, that they're doing well at wherever they're comfortable. You know, this new thing, now high value, high earning man, everybody want that, but you can't want that if you don't want to cook, you don't want to clean, you know, you don't want nobody telling you what to do because ain't nobody your daddy, you know, all that kind of stuff. Some stuff we can hold on to, and some stuff, yeah, I get it. We'll evolve. I get that part. We will evolve. We need to evolve. We need to change with the times, but there are traditional values that we also need to hold on to. Let's see what the Facebook said. There are not enough marriage. Oh my God. That's true. Let me put this on the screen so y'all can read this for yourself. So y'all won't think I just made this up. So our Facebook user said there are not enough marriage-minded men to go around. Well, this is very true, particularly Black men, and particularly educated Black men. You heard. And it's unfortunate that every time we want to talk about Black men being available for Black women, we got to talk about the prison system. We got to talk about the LGBTQ. We got to talk about the down low society. We got to talk about, you know, poly and all of these things. Why can't we just have, you know, some good old brothers that are like the Facebook, you say, marriage-minded men that want to get married, that want to, you know, settle down and build something together worth having? Why do we have to always bring all these other criterias and all these other things into the conversation when we start talking about the Black man. You know, unfortunately, these things must be talked about, but it's also unfortunate that we have to talk about them every time we start talking about available Black men. That's unfortunate, because then the ones that are available, half of them don't have the mind to get married. You know, they're saying, oh, there's no good Black women available. You know, Black women are, you know, this, and Black women, you know, they don't know how to submit, and they don't know how to do this. And, you know, Black women, you know, don't want nobody telling them what to do. And, you know, we have all of these arguments on why Black women don't make good wives. But again, if Black women are not making good wives, then wouldn't it hold to be true that Black men don't necessarily make good husbands? So what I really want us to do, we got to stop pointing fingers. We'll never have this coming together as long as Black men see Black women as the enemy and Black women see Black men as the enemy. We will never have our come to Jesus moment. We'll never have this coming to the table moment. And we'll keep having all these single Black women and all these single Black men. But here's the problem. The single Black women will always, you can't even birth enough men, enough male children at this point to catch up with the number of women there are. You know, so we're going to always outnumber them. Here's the problem. At what point do we stop and say, clearly, there's not enough men for every woman. We got that part. Now we have to look at the fact that there are not enough Black men that want to marry a Black woman. We have to put it on the table. We have to stop looking around, you know, pointing fingers and saying, oh, that's not, it is true. It is very true. If you sit sometimes and just talk to Black men, you will hear their truth about Black women. You will hear it. They'll tell you, if they trust you, they'll open up and they'll talk to you. But if they feel like you're trying to trap them into some, I got your moment, they're not going to talk to you, ladies. They're absolutely not going to talk to you. I'm telling you. But if you want a man to open up and tell you exactly what he wants, how he feels, what he's thinking, where he wants to go, are you the one? Can he see a future with you? You got to make him comfortable enough to peel back the layers, to unveil himself, to undress himself, to stand before you, not physically, but figuratively, naked, but not ashamed. You got to make him safe enough. You got to make him comfortable enough to, if he says, well, I like you, but this right here part of you, I don't like. And then it's not for you to come back and say, well, let me tell you what I don't like about you. See, now you just shut him down. He was open to having that open and honest dialogue with you, but you didn't shut him down because your comeback is so strong. And all he was trying to do was have that conversation with you. So women, yeah, Black women are strong and powerful and educated and all of that. We got it going on. We are the most educated people in the world. Unfortunately, we're also the most unmarried. Okay, let's read this. This is a lot. Let's see. Men are engaged. So. Okay, that's good. Okay, let's go with this. All right, so let's see. Instagram, I'll read it to you, what a Facebook user said. It says, millions of men are in gangs, drugs, down low, abusers, mama's boys, I guess that's players. I got to read it like they wrote it. Players, incarcerated, bums, unemployed, gay, alcoholics, deadbeats, broke, don't want to marry, etc. So take those out of the pool and you'll see there's not enough men available in the world for each woman to have a man. This makes eligible men of high value because he has options. I think I understand what that viewer is saying. The last part, I'm not sure. This makes eligible men of high value because he has options. If you're saying that it makes the eligible men of higher value because he has more women to choose from than women have men to choose from, then I understand that, if that's what you're saying. And that is very true. That is very true. Men do have more options, particularly those that don't fit in these categories that the Facebook user mentioned, and that's a whole list of categories. And so the men that don't fit in these categories, they're few and far between. And yes, they do have more options than the men that fit into these categories that the Facebook user listed. Unfortunately for us as Black women, we can have that whole list of things, but there's still some women that's going to take the gang member, still some women that's going to take the drug addict, still some women that's going to settle for the down low man, the abuser, the mama's boy, the players, the incarcerated, the bums, the unemployed, the gay, the alcoholics, the deadbeats, the broke, and those that don't want to marry. There's still some women that'll say, well, if piece of man is better than no man at all, so we're almost forced to just kind of take what's left after the good pickings are gone. You heard the saying, well, all the good men are either, married, or they're already in committed relationships. No one says, well, all the good men are in jail. No one says all the good men are in gangs. No one says all the good men are on down low. All the good men are abusers. All the good men are mama's boys. They're players, incarcerated. No one says that. Why? Because culturally, and probably rightfully so on some points, we don't see those men as good men. We don't see them as good husband material. And so, we're going to classify all of them, and this is not marriage material. And everybody that does not fit into those categories, we're going to say, these are guys right here that are marriage material. Here's the problem. These guys over here don't want to get married, though. You got good guys out here that are marriage material, but they're not checking to marry a Black woman. And for whatever reason, that's their deal. Black women, you can't get upset when Black men don't want to marry Black women. Let them have their deal. Everybody's entitled to his or her own choice, his or her own liking, so no one should say anything when Black women start marrying outside of their race. I had a conversation with a dear friend of mine, and we started talking about race relationships and gender roles. And he said to me that a Black man had the right to marry or be with or sleep with a white woman or someone outside of his ethnicity. And so I said, well, I have the same right. He said, well, that's not true because the gender roles are different. Black women can't do what Black men do. So I said, what are you saying? He says, well, if I be with a white woman or someone outside of my race, it's accepted. But if you do it, he said, to Black men, that's a slap in our face. I'm like, are you serious? Did you just say that? He was 100% serious. He said to me, Black men are allowed to date, to marry outside of their race. But he said, me personally, he said, but Benita, if you do it, he said, I would look at you differently because for me as a Black man, that will be you slapping me in my face. Somebody need to make that make sense to me because I don't get it. I don't get it. And so to me, that's a double standard. I don't know if you guys see it different, but to me, it's a double standard to say that because of our gender roles, you get to do something that I should not do or that I'm forbidden to do. Let's go to our guest. You 100% of the women that want the top 10% of the high value man. That's why he has options, because he is what they all want. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's not enough. It's like, it used to be like 7 women to 1 man, but that's probably almost double. It's probably now like 11 or 12 women to 1 man now. I mean, and quite frankly, the pickings are slim. All right, let's look at our last video for tonight. Thank you guys for helping me out tonight. So we'll finish this up later on in the week, and hopefully my throat will hold up a little bit better. Let's see. Let's see which one I want to show you guys last. All right, let's do this one. So this one is going to actually go to our next part when we come back again. But I want to touch on this because I just kind of spoke to it a little bit about Black men saying, well, it's okay for them to date outside of their race, but it's not okay for us, when clearly it's not enough of them that want us or that find value in Black women. Let's just take a look at this.
What's up, everyone? Shamika Sanders, host of Listen to Black Women here. We brought in a group of Black men to discuss and respond to the advice, commentary, and wisdom offered from one of our episodes of Listen to Black Women.
I don't like to use the word hurt because I feel that puts too much weight on it. Personally, I am not that sad or affected when I see a Black man with a woman of another race, unless he's very fine. And she is not what I really think is, a good match. But I do question a lot of their choices because when pressed or asked about it, a lot of them have really lame excuses. Like Michael did the whole thing about milk flavors, and I was just like,
so weird.
Right, like just say you like what you like and this is not it or this is it.
My problem with it is that I feel like Michael B. Jordan's fan base has been built on the backs of Black women. And now he's afraid that he's going to lose his audience. So now he's clamoring and he's all these milk analogies and it's really strange. But we see this so often in Hollywood.
Yeah, and we're seeing right through it because all of those types of explanations, they just read as superficial and inauthentic. So it's like, just own it, brother.
Africa Miranda's point about, she's not going to live her life kind of identifying a Black man is dating a white woman. Oh my God, travesty, right? Agreed. But I think that a lot of the Black women that I know, a lot of my Black female friends who are single are faced with an issue of what's out there, what's in their purview as being true prime opportunities with Black men. And so in the instance that you see a Black man that you could have dating a white woman, it's kind of like, oh, that brother would have been good for me, and he went with a white girl? Oh, and so it really does feel like sabotage. It kind of feels like you just straight up just took an opportunity away from me, and I think that is an issue that we need to address.
I think the point about Michael B. Jordan was really interesting too, about him building his reputation and his fame on the backs of Black women, and I think it is a very precarious predicament for him to be in, only because it's like, now he feels obliged to have to make an excuse. He can't just say, I enjoy dating white women. I think the interesting thing about preference is that it doesn't really affect anyone except for the individual. I understand historically that a lot of, what is seen as the Black plight is the loss of the Black family. But when does that become every individual's responsibility to say, okay, I have to put what I may innately prefer aside to fulfill this larger purpose? And so I think it's something to be said about, just the pressures of what is expected of the Black man and what he's supposed to do and how he's treated if he was to come out and say, yeah, I prefer to date white women. There's a lot of backlash for that.
And so I want us to finish a thought, if we may. So when Black men listen to Black women on the topic of interracial dating,
I feel that their specific perspective and the life events that they have lived through grant them the right to their opinion. I think it's very different from what I've lived through and what I've seen and my whole perception of the situation, but it's equally valued, and I think there's some merit to it.
When Black men listen to Black women on the topic of interracial dating, blank.
They often get defensive and feel guilty. To be totally honest with you, I think when a black woman presents and says, you know, when black men date white women, I don't get it. I don't understand. You're not valuing yourself and who you come from. And if you've dated a white woman, you sit down there and say, dang, is that true? No. You start to think and calculate and, you know, and see if that's the case. And then you come up with a response. It's unfortunate that that is the case. But the fact of the matter is that when we hear our sisters give their opinions on it, sometimes we can become enlightened, but oftentimes we become defensive.
What can we do, both men and women, to start to address this, right? What can women do to feel less bothered by these trends? And what can men do, black men, to try to listen to black women a little bit more and hold space for them?
I think the key to any problem, the first step is dialogue. There needs to be that conversation. There can't be these feelings of disdain and anger and hurt, and you just keep it bottled inside. I don't think that's the solution in any situation. I think it's best that we have these conversations with each other. We put our prides aside. We try to remove the emotionality from it, and we hear what people are thinking. And furthermore, I think if you speak to a black man as a black woman and you say, why do you date white women? And he says, this is all I want to date, then you probably saved yourself and dodged a bullet. You wouldn't want someone who could be so ignorant to think that you could just make a determination on who you love on race. So stay yourself.
Yeah,
sure.
Agreed. I think that black women, when you do get that kind of response from a black man, I only date white women or women that are not black, I think you definitely have saved yourself. I think you exit the conversation, especially if you're not interested in that man. But even if you are, you kind of just move on and don't take on the idea that that man's word is the word for all black men. That's it. And particularly if a black man is dating a white woman, please don't misappropriate that for only wanting white women, right? I think there are tons of black men that want to date black women, and that's just a fact. The last piece I would say is date men outside of your race too. I mean, I'm not saying to do it as a tit for tat, but I don't see anything wrong with it. I'm not saying only date outside your race, but I think you have an opportunity to go out there and explore and see what you like and see that there's not really that much of a difference oftentimes when you're in the dating world. Maybe culturally there might be a little bit, but you might learn something by dating somebody else.
Totally, cast a wide net. But my advice goes to men. I'd say men need to take more ownership for their reasons, right? And like you said, if that's your preference, that's fine. But I wouldn't deflect it by saying that the black woman is less than, right? And then we have the laundry list of things that we can point to. So I would say for men, we need to take more ownership of our preference if that's the case. We hope you enjoyed, and make sure to stay tuned for the next episode of Listen to Black Women.
So, what do you guys think about that one? That's going to be my last video for tonight. It's so much more we need to talk about. When we come back again, we're going to talk about communication. Why aren't we talking to each other? How do we understand that men and women clearly speak different languages? And then we're going to talk about the stereotypes, the angry black woman, the toxic masculinity, and then we're going to talk some more about interracial dating on the next show when we come back. All right. And so I have a commercial to show you guys. I think it's in here. It's queued up and ready to go. Again, we are live streaming to several different platforms tonight. I am super excited about that. 6 to be exact. 3 Facebook platforms, Instagram, Periscope, Twitter, and YouTube. We're streaming to all of those platforms live tonight. And it costs, but we're here and that's what we're doing. So if you want to help, with that cost, I'm going to put the information on the screen for you. Those of you that would like to support the show, you can send your donations or your contributions to either the Cash App or the PayPal that's on the screen. Wait, that's the wrong one. Let's see. Let me go back. So yeah, let me fix that one because that, okay. Let's see. Save it. Okay, now let's show it. So you guys see where it says K350? That is supposed to say KC. C is in cow, or Charlie, KC 350. Yeah, right there. Okay, it says it on this one. Hold on a second, let me fix this. There we go. All right, okay, now it's correct. So if you guys want to help the show out, there's the information to send your contributions or your donations to. The Cash App and the PayPal link is there for you. All right. Also, I did announce today on our pages that we are going to start our Behind the Curtain, our Patreon edition, because I got a lot of stuff I want to talk to you guys about and some stories I want to talk to you about that I don't necessarily want to put on a public platform. So we've come up with a more private way to share information with you guys. This is a membership-based subscription, and it is called Behind the Curtain with Benita Bradley. And here's a little quick commercial.
Entertaining, provocative, and always uncensored.
Behind the Curtain with Benita Bradley.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you all for your comments. Thank you guys so much. To all of our streaming audience, thank you. Thank you, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter. Thank you to all of you that are still riding with us. Don't forget, we'll be back this week or this weekend with part 2 of this, because we still want to get into this some more, and I want to hear more of your comments on this subject. What's the real breakdown between the Black man and the Black woman? Get your comments, your questions ready for next time, and we'll be back to do this all over again. All right. Again, thank you all so much, especially those of you that were commenting. You guys had some really, really good comments on tonight, Facebook and Instagram. You guys were amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys back here next time, same station, same time. Thank you for watching Live Talk with Benita Bradley. Have an incredible night.